Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 6 of the Red Pill, Orange Pill Investor. And this will be a short one. It's Saturday, got other shit to do. But I thought I would make a quick video on the poor man's covered call and why you should be extremely nervous about it. I basically nearly blew up my entire account using it. Um, as somebody uh, described uh, described it, I was eggheading it too much. And buying 100 shares and selling covered calls against it is kind of easy mode. And this isn't financial advice, but no matter what happens to the price of the stock, I mean, as long as you don't pick something that goes bankrupt and goes to zero forever, which is always a possibility, as long as you don't do that, stocks generally go up over time. So a lot of this buy and hold stuff that people preach, you can always just do that if you screw up anyway. However, I decided that I was going to try to make my buying power go farther and do a poor man's covered call. That way I could, for just about the same money, I could do two covered calls a week and double my ROI. And that was working out great. I probably doubled my money in a year or so. And that was when everybody was doing well in the S&P. So the S&P was up some giant number. I don't even remember. But I was killing the S&P. And it wasn't that I was getting too full of myself. I always had this nagging feeling in the back of my brain that was saying like, everybody's doing well. Are you just getting lucky? And and I definitely was. So when the Fed raised rates, and I should have paid attention to that first of all. That should be the number one sign. If there's something like that can just crash the whole market, you do not want to be leveraged long, and that's what a poor man's covered call is. We'll see the mechanics here in a minute, but I don't really get too much into technical analysis. However, if you have the death cross, that could signal a bear market, and you I should have been more wary of being leveraged long. So if if the uh, if the market is okay and somewhat safe, and I had way too much allocated towards poor man's covered calls. I think I was almost exclusively in poor man's covered calls at that point. So I I don't really care about diversification necessarily as far as like diversifying my assets. I only invest in Tesla and Bitcoin derivatives. However, poor man's covered call is riskier than just owning the asset, the underlying asset itself. And trading in margin is riskier than just not trading in margin. So you want to make sure that your strategies are diversified, and you don't want to be heavy on leverage, or heavy on anything that can blow up your account. So that was what the mistakes that I made. So I've always consistently made money on just regular covered calls where you own the underlying stock. Um, but let's just illustrate how it works when when it does make sense to do it. So you go out here. Some people say at least a year. I mean, I don't mind having them under a year. I would probably, if they get close to 180 days to expiration, I would probably be looking to get rid of that leaps. Was it long expiration anticipatory security? I think that's what LEAP stands for. So you're going to buy a LEAPS. So let's just look at Tesla. Um, if you go to January 17th, 2025, you're going to go down here and look for something that has a very high delta. They call this a synthetic stock because the price of this option will move very closely to the price of the stock price. The closer this delta gets to 1, it'll start moving even closer. So you gotta get a really high delta in order for it to be considered uh, a leaps for a poor man's covered call. And what this will allow you to do is actually sell a covered call as if you had owned the stock. So you can sell this, or excuse me, buy this leaps for a year from now ish at the 175, and sell a covered call. And I like to sell weekly. I can just sell this 247.50. Um, I think the price changed after hours. This probably got me 250, I think. So it's going to cost, the cost of the call was 86. So 1% of that would be 86 cents. So I was getting about 3% ROI on the leaps. So that's pretty good, 3% every week. And then if the price of Tesla goes up, then the value of the leaps goes up as well. So in that scenario, it's a win-win. However, the lose scenario is when the price crashes. And when the Fed started raising rates, tech stocks got absolutely wrecked. So if Tesla was to drop in half to like 120, this option that would cost you 8,600 bucks would be almost worthless. There's nothing left here. And it would no longer even qualify you to sell covered calls. It would be way too risky, and there wouldn't be any premium in it probably either. Because the whole point is that if the price does spike really high and you need to uh, and if the person that you sold the covered call to exercises that option and says, yeah, I want this Tesla at the strike that you agreed on, you can always just sell this leaps to compensate for that rise in price. But when the market takes a dump and the value of this $8,000 leap drops to like 1,000, you lose 75% of your value. That's what happened to my account in short order, just in a few months. And I did not realize how fast these leaps can evaporate. So I probably shouldn't have had more than 10% of my portfolio in leaps and poor man's covered calls. So just a warning, you can completely blow it up if you do that. Um, that being said, the next time you have a bull market or whatever, uh, you could do this. But again, you have to be within your diversify within your buying power, not to allocate too much to this, because if there's a black swan event and everything crashes, these leaps just disintegrate in value. And that doesn't happen when you own 100 shares. So if you own 100 shares of Tesla and the price drops to 110, 120, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're still going to be crying yourself to sleep because the value of your account went down, but you still own a valuable asset. So this, would be worth 100, and you're probably going to be able to sell a covered call for half of that. So instead of selling it for 500 at the 277 strike, 120 strike would probably be like 250 or something, $2. So you can kind of live to fight another day when you own the stock. Again, buying on margin is a little bit more risky as well, because if the price drops enough to where you get a margin call, you can blow up your account that way. But all right, I think that's it for now. I just wanted to make a quick one to warn about poor man's covered calls versus just a regular covered call when you own 100 shares. Owning 100 shares is, and not using margin is the absolute safest way to do it. And until next time, be good, Joe.